You're having current affairs with respect to international relations. All right. So whenever, like, continuing wherever we have left with respect to international relations. Earlier sessions, I think Sir has covered few aspects regarding that. Whenever you talk about international relations from your prelims perspective, approximately on an average, a minimum of 10 questions comes every year. So whatever the document has been shared to you, in that, with respect to international relations or any sort of international use, you need to look at them or compartmentalize them into 4 compartments. 4 aspects with respect to IR is important for your prelims perspective. I'm talking about only prelims perspective, not mains. So in international relations, basically questions have been asked only from 4 dimensions. First dimension is regarding international groupings. International groupings or institutions. What are these international groupings or institutions? What are various international institutions? It can be your World Health Organization, it can be World Bank, it can be UNESCO, it can be IMF, any sort of global international organizations or groupings. Any development with respect to these groupings are important for your examination. Question definitely comes from this. So, prepare a list of all the international groupings or institutions and see the recent updates, what initiatives, what steps, what achievements, what days, on what themes these international institutions have met and what are the highlights of that particular meetings. Try to identify these aspects. That's the first important aspect. Second is, you have various bilateral or multilateral groupings or multilateral ties or bilateral ties, which predominantly takes place between various nations. India, Myanmar relationship, India, Maldives, what are the bilateral agreements, India and Central Asia, what is happening. So not only with respect to India, I'm talking about bilateral and multilateral groupings. It can involve India or it cannot involve India as well. Russia, Ukraine is there. The issue has to be analyzed by you and its implications on India has to be critically examined. That is how you have to look at it. Anything happening around the world. It can be any groupings. Let's say India is part of South Asian region. Something which is happening with respect to NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That is also important for your examination. North Atlantic Treaty Organization is seen as Alliance of the West. Equivalent organization, which is Shanghai Cooperation Organization, is regarded as Alliance of East, because all the eastern part, Southeast Asian nation countries are part of SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So whatever events have been happening multilaterally and bilaterally with respect to any of the countries are important for your examination. So these initiatives, which have been in news from the past 1 or 1.5 years, have to be taken into consideration for your exam. Next is mapping based questions. There are a lot of places that incidentally, coincidentally or accidentally come to news. Anything might be the reason. So whenever anything comes into the news, the place of that particular region or its surroundings has to be taken care of. That is how you have to live. If some species has been recognized as extinct in any particular country, if that is there in the news, you have to go through the whole region, that particular area within which that particular country is located. It can be anything. There recently UNESCO has declared that the great Australian reef is no more threatened. That is what has been the statement, Great Barrier Reef in Australia. So where is this Great Barrier Reef located? What are its implications in the surrounding regions? Which countries are surrounded with Australia, where this Great Barrier Reef or coral reefs are predominantly part of? So all this has to be analyzed from that perspective. Mapping based questions again are very important. Finally, any events or any sort of developments or any sort of key takeaways in any summits, whatever. If there is G20 summit has happened, there has been an outcome called as New Delhi Declaration. What are the features of this New Delhi Declaration? That you have to take a note of. Similarly, if there is, after 75 years of WHO, in 76th World Health Assembly Summit, some key findings of that particular report has been witnessed to alleviate drowning deaths or to consider people with indigenous background in the coming future, be it till 2029. A protocol has been drafted out and that has to be executed. So similar sort of events which have been in news has to be taken into consideration for your prelims. These are the 4 dimensions through which you can cover the whole IR part. All right? Now, all right. So beginning with, let us discuss about few important international organizations first. Like whatever has happened till now, we'll be continuing with the ongoing document which was shared by our organization. First important aspect, we'll talk about WHO, World Health Organization. We will take this particular organization as an institution and we will be looking at the development that has happened with respect to this WHO. Whenever you say WHO, from prelims perspective, you need to understand some fundamentals. What is the origin of this WHO? When it was established? What are the member countries? What are the theme of this particular General Assembly session which was held very recently? All these factual information forms part of your prelims as well. A statement can be framed with respect to this. So if you look at this, as you all are aware, it is a United Nations specialized agency which is confined to health. When was it established? When was it established? It was established in the year 1948. India is also founding member of this World Health Organization. On 12 January 1948, India became a part of World Health Organization. But its functioning has started only from April 7th, 1948. So that is why April 7th is also regarded as World Health Day. World Health Day is observed on April 7th. In the year 1948, the functioning of WHO has started from this particular date. Where is it headquartered? It is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. These are some factual information with respect to this World Health Organization. Apart from this, you have a total of 194 countries who are members of this World Health Organization as well, in which you have 150 country officers across these 194 countries, and these 194 countries have been grouped into 6 regional offices, 6 regional zones. What are these 6 regional zones through which these 194 countries are divided? You have 6 regional offices. WHO offices are primarily classified into 6 regional offices. What are these 6 regional zones of WHO? If you look at these maps, mapping is again important. Whenever you do IR, mapping is important. This is predominantly your Africa. This is collectively in both North and South Americas. What about this? Which part is this? Southeast Asia. This is your Europe. Predominantly, we classify this in terms of Eastern Mediterranean region. And finally, you have this. What are these? Western Pacific. So predominantly, all the 194 countries who are part and parcel of WHO are divided into these major 6 regional groups. So now, after this, if you look at the structure and mandate of WHO, the functioning, every organization has to have a proper structure and mandate. You have 2 classifications. WHO is categorized into 2 governing bodies. One is your WHA and second one is your executive body. The basics of WHO forms part of your static part, but it is important because whatever events that has happened with respect to World Health Organization in the past 1 year, even if you know about that also, any statement can come from this static background of WHO. So basically the governing body of World Health Organization is predominantly classified into 2. One is your World Health Assembly and second one is your executive body. World Health Assembly is the primary body or the primary governing body which is responsible for all sorts of policy making, policy decisions within this WHO will be taken care by this World Health Assembly. Whereas the executive body is responsible for execution or implementation of all the decisions which was taken by World Health Assembly. So if you look at the recent issues which have been in news, what does it say? World Health Organization downgrades COVID-19 pandemic, and it says that it is no longer a global emergency. Whenever you say World Health Organization has downgraded COVID-19 status, it is not, it is the governing council is the World Health Assembly who has taken this decision. In the name of WHO, World Health Assembly is the body, the governing body which has taken this decision. Why did this downgrade the status of COVID-19 and it is no more regarded as global health emergency? Why is it so? Why? Why it has downgraded it? What constitutes global health emergency? What has happened? What is the present scenario now? Have you heard this term PHEIC? PHEIC. What does it stand for? Public health emergency of international concern. Any epidemic, any pandemic, whichever has been recognized in any part of the world, immediate, if there is necessity for the world to take any action against such kind of disease or such kind of epidemic, it first declares public health emergency of international concern. So there has been a criteria to list any disease or epidemic as public health emergency of international concern. There has been some seriousness which has been accorded for this particular COVID-19. That is why initially it has been kept under the category of public health emergency of international concern. So when I say public health emergency of international concern, what are the criteria that has to be met when you want to list any disease or any kind of epidemic under this particular category? What should be the criteria? Public health emergency of international concern. The disease should be, what are the basic criteria that needs to be met? It has to be sudden, it has to be serious, it has to be unusual, it has to be unexpected. Because any disease, if a disease like COVID has already been known very prior to its occurrence, will it be declared as public health emergency of international concern? No. It is sudden, it is unexpected, it is unusual, and it is also very serious. That's the major primary criteria to be listed under this PHEIC. Second important is there has to be significant impact on international spread as well. It cannot be confined to any particular region. Some diseases can be regarded as epidemic to certain regions. Let's say there is Ebola. Ebola is predominantly confined to some African countries. It is epidemic and it is endemic only to that particular region. The spread, international spread, is not so much prevalent. So whereas when it comes to COVID, there has been widespread international risk of significance as well. That is the second criteria to be classified under public health emergency of international concern. Next important thing is, when anything is kept under this particular category, there will be restrictions on international travel or international trade. Be it in person or be it through goods, there will be restrictions in the movement of people as well as goods. When this PHEIC with any particular disease is kept under an alert by the WHO. And finally, there has been some interference by the international health agencies, and whatever decisions has been given by these agencies, they will be having legal backing. Legally backed decisions and recommendations will be provided by these international institutions or organizations when it is classified under public health emergency of international concern. These are the criteria. So as you all are aware, as the disease, the burden of this disease is nowhere prevalent nowadays. Not only that, because of various advancements with respect to medical field which has happened, it is capable to handle any sort of contagious variants, even in further. Any sort of, like we have SARS-CoV-2, any sort of variants of virus, even if it comes out also, we have a proper protocol. We have a proper set of safeguards that were already researched, that were already in place, and we can handle any sort of new variant that comes into reality. So that is why this has been taken away from public health emergency of international concern. This is the first thing. Apart from this, next is you have this Mpox. What is this Mpox? Monkeypox. So monkeypox is also no longer a global health emergency according to World Health Organization. This is the same parallel news that has been released in the last 1 year. What is this monkeypox? Why is it no longer a global emergency? That you need to be aware about. What is this monkeypox? You might have heard about smallpox. So what is this monkeypox? Monkeypox. Is it a virus, or is it a bacteria, or is it a parasite? Monkeypox is zoonotic viral disease which belongs to which genus? Which genus? Monkeypox, viral disease. It belongs to which genus? You have certain viruses. Orthopoxy virus. It belongs to the genus of orthopoxy virus. So this monkeypox has also been declared, no longer declared as global health emergency. So whenever you say this, you need to understand some basics about this monkeypox. It is a viral disease, as I firstly said. Second, all the symptoms with respect to smallpox are similar to monkeypox. What is smallpox? It is also a viral infection. What are the symptoms whenever you say smallpox? Fever, inka Smallpox is basically some sort of wounds which come up on your body predominantly. Similar symptoms are also visible in monkeypox as well. The same symptoms which are prevalent for smallpox are also there for monkeypox. The only difference between smallpox and monkeypox is the swollen lymphatic nodes. Your throat area is there. The lymphatic nodes, if you are attacked by a monkeypox, this lymphatic gland will be swollen. But that is not the case with smallpox. Rest all the symptoms, nausea, headache, fever, whatever rashes, all these are common for both smallpox as well as monkeypox. The only difference is swollen lymphatic node. So this monkeypox, first the outbreak of this monkeypox was witnessed in which country? It was witnessed in which country? Democratic Congo in the year 1958. Two outbreaks have been recognized for the first time in the year 1958. Predominantly African regions. So after this, what is the transmission of this particular disease? How it is spread? How this disease is spread? Human to human spread is there, or it is only through animal to human? Animal to human or human to human? It can happen in both ways. The primary sources through rodents or through monkeys predominantly. After that, if any person got infected of this monkeypox, it can either be transmitted through rodents, monkeys, or it can also happen through humanly contact as well. So in both the cases, the transmission can happen with respect to this monkeypox. So it has been a serious issue with respect to global health because as per certain statistics, almost this monkeypox disease has been prevalent in 110 countries and it has reported more than 87,000 cases. That is why it has been regarded as global health emergency. But now, in the past 3 months, if you could see, 90% of the reported cases were decreased. From 87,000 cases, whatever number we have been seen in the past year, that has been reduced to 90% in the last 3 months. So now it is no more a global emergency. That is what is declared by WHO, World Health Organization. Next. '76th World Health Meet, which was held in Geneva. What is this World Health Meet? What are the key takeaways of this World Health meeting? The 76th World Health Assembly meeting was held in Geneva. It was presided over by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So whenever I say 76th, 75 years of establishment of WHO, which is a significant milestone, 75 years. This is the 76th annual World Health Assembly meeting has held in Geneva last year in the period of May. So what is the theme of this particular meeting? 76th meeting. What is the theme? Theme. WHO at 75. The theme is WHO at 75, saving lives and driving health for all. That is the theme of WHO. Saving lives and driving health for all is the theme. On the same sidelines, another important issue, like what are the key takeaways of this particular meeting, we'll be looking into it. As I told you, whenever any meeting of WHO is there, it will be presided by all the member countries. Here we have 194 member countries. All countries are invited to this WHO meeting. But one country was not considered as a member of WHO because it was opposed by China. Which is that country? China and Pakistan predominantly. That is Taiwan. Taiwan has been excluded from this WHO annual assembly meetings following Chinese opposition and Pakistan's opposition. Why is this important? China and Pakistan has opposed inclusion of representatives. They did not invite the representatives, or they did not welcome the representatives of Taiwan to attend this 76th World Health Assembly meetings, which was held in Geneva, Switzerland. This is also in news. So you need to understand both these parallelly. Why Taiwan was excluded? What are the claims of China on Taiwan? Why did they exclude Taiwan? China believes in one China policy, one China principle. China feels that Taiwan is part and parcel of China itself. Within the sovereignty of China and territorial integrity of China, Taiwan is part and parcel of it. Within one China principle, they follow Taiwan is part of China. When China is representing, there is no purpose for the representatives of Taiwan to come and attend this World Health Organization. But Taiwan is not ready to accept that. They want a separate sovereign nation. They are fighting for that. But China feels that Taiwan is part and parcel of our own sovereignty. That has been the case. They don't want to lose Taiwan. Even if they, at these international junctures or at these international platforms, if China talks about Taiwan for discussions or deliberations, they themselves are putting a claim that China also have equal playing field to contend for separate country. So they don't want to recognize themselves as a separate country. They'll shut down any claims put forth by China. So they can go against any. China is a predominant contributor in the global geopolitical scenario. It's a very big player. Even in various international organizations and groupings also, China's dominance is very much visible. Further, going further, when you talk about Shanghai Cooperation Organization, within that Shanghai Cooperation Organization also, China is a major player. Even UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. Recently, some years back, US has pulled out of UNESCO. US is not a part of UNESCO. But recently, in the last year, United States again rejoined this UNESCO. Why? Only because of fear factor from China. When US is out, there is a global politics, the Cold War politics, which is running among the global superpowers to establish their geopolitical sovereignty across the world order. When US is absent in such biggest international organizations like UN-based organizations, obviously China's dominance will be there. Only because to exclude China and its supremacy, US again came back and joined UNESCO as well. So these geopolitical scenarios always plays a major role, major chunk in geopolitical issues across any organizations. So in this, what are the key takeaways of this 76th World Health Summit, which was held in Geneva? As I told you, the prime decision-making body of WHO is World Health Assembly. So what are the functions of this World Health Assembly? Major function is to decide on organizational policies. What policies have to be there and have to be dictated with respect to health across the world will be dictated by this World Health Assembly. That is the first major objective of WHA. Second is the major functioning or major role of World Health Assembly is the appointment of Director General of WHO. Who has to preside over WHO? Who is the current Director General and from which country? The appointment process of that particular person is the duty of this World Health Assembly as well. Third major function is administration of financial policies as well. Any financial policy that has to be transferred to fight any cause of international or global emergency kind of epidemic, that financial backup has to be provided by World Health Assembly. The decision making power or the administration of financial policies is with World Assembly. When such decision is made, the executive body is responsible for implementation. Whether those funds were devoted or dedicated to that particular outbreak or that particular disease or not, it will be taken by the executive board. Next is review and approval of any budget with respect to the functioning of WHO is also the major mandate and major function of WHA, World Health Assembly. So now, what are the key highlights of this particular summit, World Health Summit, which was held in Geneva? First key takeaway is there is a global plan for recognition of indigenous people. The highlights of this 76th Geneva Summit is global plan for recognition of health of indigenous people. Who are these indigenous people? You might hear this term indigenous people very often in society, social issues. Who are indigenous people? Indigenous people who are endemic to certain places, who are not part of the mainstream society, who have their own social, cultural, ethnic, ethnic principles, fundamentals, which they themselves confine to those basic areas, and they are not outborn, like they don't come out of their regions. They are endemic only to that particular places. So their rights has to be recognized, their health has to be considered, and those people also has to have equal health opportunities. So ensuring and securing health of vulnerable people and marginalized people is the ultimate objective and aim of WHO. WHO's major agenda is to serve, ensure and secure the health of even the vulnerable minority communities. So indigenous people has to be brought into the limelight. Their healthcare needs has to be taken into consideration, because why most of the people are, even today, with the advancement of so much of technology, with the advancement of so much of globalization and penetration of all the aspects which are inextricably interdependent, why we are not able to bring these indigenous people into the mainstream society? Because there are various factors, like as I told you, historical, cultural, societal, many factors. They themselves also don't want to come and join in this mainstream society. So preserving the people, indigenous people's rights is also the duty of World Health Organization, to ensure their health is the primary objective. Even if you look at the constitution of WHO, the constitution of WHO has defined health. What do you mean by health? What do you mean by health? Health can be defined in numerous ways. So what is the holistic definition which was given by WHO? That we will be regarding it as a standard definition. So what do you mean by health as per WHO? Health means merely securing people from any sort of disease or epidemic. Is it health? Is it health? WHO says that health means ensuring people's physical, mental and social well-being. Physical, social and mental well-being. It should be physically healthy, mentally healthy and socially healthy. Not merely taking away, not merely confining ourselves to eradicate any sort of disease or epidemic. It does not mean health. So that is why whenever you talk about health, the issue of mental health also is of very much importance. Not only your physical health, your mental health is also part and parcel of your component of health. So that is the definition of health with respect to WHO. So here, the first agenda, the key highlights of this 72nd World Health Summit is global plan for indigenous people's health. So they have come up that a draft proposal has to be incorporated. A draft resolution has to be accepted by all the members of WHO in its upcoming meetings. So in order to make a draft proposal, it has given a timeline till 79th World Health Meeting, which is going to be held in 2026. By that time, you have to come up with a draft proposal which affects, which takes into consideration the health of indigenous people. Because as I told you, indigenous people, there might be a minute people. Even if you look at the whole world, there are less than 5% of people who are regarded as indigenous in nature. But this 5% people's health is also of utmost importance for an international institution like WHO. They had come up with numerous targets. Like initially, there has been a target of WHO which says that 3 billion people, targeting 3 billion people across various health aspects. Achieving that was the primary aim of WHO till 2023. Addressing the health needs of 3 billion people has been the need. That has been achieved. They now has incorporated the health of indigenous people. This is the first important highlight. Second important highlight is there has to be a global alliance on drowning prevention. Global Alliance for Drowning Prevention. GADP. This was established. Global Alliance for Drowning Prevention was established in this 76th World Health Meeting. And the aim of this particular global alliance is to eliminate drowning deaths of the people by 2029. Drowning in the sense, there have been various people who have been succumbed to the deaths because of this drowning. Drowning, from their perspective, over 90% of drowning deaths were predominantly from low or middle income countries, which was happening because of various flood related catastrophes happening because of climate change. So these aspects, the climate change aspects, which were predominantly impacting the deaths of people, the 90% of the people's deaths in the lower and middle income countries were happening because of this climate change effect, detrimental effects of climate change. That has to be addressed by the year 2029. This is the second important highlight of this 76th World Assembly meeting. Next, third important aspect is a draft resolution has to be prepared with respect to chemicals, wastes and pollutions. Draft resolution for chemicals, wastes and pollutants. World Environmental Protection Acts, like you have numerous global pollution related acts. Those environmental related UNDP, whoever has have been taken various regulatory measures with respect to environment, they have to integrate. The World Health Organization also needs to integrate its policy measures, keeping in lines the environmental pollution measures which were in place. And that also needs to be addressed by the year 2029. What are the various chemicals, polluting wastes and polluting parameters which were prevalent across the world? That has to be addressed. So, risk identification, regulatory frameworks, biomonitoring and various preventive aspects with respect to all these has to be included in the draft proposal, which has to further be eliminated by the year 2029. Next important is WHO program budget. For all these activities to be taken up, you need a certain budget. So what is the budget under which program how much budget or financing has to be allocated. That also has been discussed within this particular general meeting. So if you look at the overall budgeting which was happening within this WHO, primarily the budgeting happens through two major contribution. One is assessed contributions, another one is voluntary contributions. Assessed contribution means the contribution which was calculated based on the country's GDP. Like every member country, based on their own gross domestic product or based on their economic growth, they contribute certain amount to World Health Organization. So if you take the assessed contribution of all the 194 countries, the assessed contributions of WHO amounts to somewhere around 20%. Among 100%, all the countries' contribution amounts to only 20% of funds of WHO, which means that 80% are from voluntary contributions. 80% funds are devolved within this WHO are from voluntary contribution, which accounts more than 3/4 of the funding process. So whenever these funding mechanisms are provided, again within this voluntary funding contributions, they again are classified into three major categories. Whatever voluntary funding contribution is there, they can be again subclassified into three categories. One is core voluntary contribution, CVC. You call it as CVC, core voluntary contribution. Core voluntary contribution means which is fully unconditional, which is fully flexible. You can use it for any purpose related to health. It can be used for any particular purpose of WHO. But this core voluntary contribution only accounts for 4.1% of all voluntary contributions. Because any voluntary contribution which is given by various stakeholders apart from governments, that has to be spent, that has to be designated or spent only within a particular purpose, within a particular designated objective. So some funds, if you are there, you are contributing only to specific purpose, then you call it as specified voluntary contribution. When you are funding it through specified voluntary contribution, whatever fund that you are contributing, it has to be spent only on that specified purpose. If your purpose is to eradicate monkeypox, whatever fund that you are giving, it has to be spent only on monkeypox. That is specified voluntary contribution. So this specified voluntary contribution accounts for 88% of all the voluntary contributions. 88%, because there is a lot of flexibility in spending. If a country is facing so much of burden because of any epidemic or pandemic, you can only donate that money for that particular cause or for that particular epidemic or that particular disease. So specified voluntary contribution accounts more percentage, 88%. Then you have in between, like as I told you, core voluntary and specified voluntary. You have another thing which is in between both these two. You call it as thematic and strategic engagement fund. Thematic and strategic engagement fund, which is having partial flexibility, which accounts for 7.9% of total contributions. So this is how contribution happens. If you take for example the pandemic, COVID-19. During COVID-19 you have this Solidarity Response Fund, CSF, Solidarity Response Fund. So all the contributions which were made with respect to outbreak of COVID has been went into this Solidarity Response Fund, which is part of your specified voluntary fund. It can be one example. That is how funding process happens within this WHO. So now, if you look at the participation, as I told you, the participation. Before that also you have this triple billion targets which were in place. till the year 2022. That is the only objective of WHO till the year 2023. Achieving triple billion target. Triple billion means 3 billion. 1 billion people have to be benefited with universal health coverage. 1 billion people have to be protected from health emergencies, and 1 billion people have to enjoy better health and well-being. This is the triple billion target of WHO, and its aim was to achieve this within the year 2023. That already has been finished. So now the new proposals have been come up with a designated target of 2029. So these are the key highlights. So if you look at India and WHO, India and WHO, within this COVID-19, India has been a front runner to supply vaccines to numerous countries. As many as more than 300 million COVID-19 vaccine doses have been provided, and it has covered over 100 countries with its vaccination drive. So India has played a predominant role as a member of WHO in order to address this COVID-19 pandemic. And not only that, in this meeting, India has also stressed on the significance of its traditional medicine system as well. Whenever you talk about traditional medicines, obviously your Ayurveda and yoga. These are the two prime runners for India in order to enhance its soft power. Anywhere we go, yoga has become an international event all across the world. Same is the case with Ayurveda. India is recognized with yoga and Ayurveda now. Long back, decades back, when you say a person is from India, the global people across Western European countries, they used to have a presumption that whenever you say Indian, their imagination used to be like a denim jean, a t-shirt and a laptop. Because Indians are very much rich in their technological skill. So much of graduates from IT industry, they have contributed so much to the software industry, the technology part. Indians are very rich in technological aspects. That's why even if you see the biggest MNCs and all, every biggest multinational company is headed by an Indian now. So that has been changed now. After the present existing government, we again going back to Vedas. So we are focusing on the traditional aspects of India, the yoga, the Ayurveda and all this. This is visible in the global scenario now. Like even in the recently held G20 summit also. What is the major theme of G20 summit? One Earth, one family, one future. Same. The objectives, the aims of World Health Organizations are in alignment with various other global groupings as well. Next. This is also covered. Taiwan. Why it is not there? Next issue is WHO launches IPSN to detect infectious disease threat. What is this IPSN? IPSN stands for International Pathogen Surveillance Network. What is this International Pathogen Surveillance Network? Why is it important? What do you mean by International Pathogen Surveillance Network? World Health Organization has felt the need that after the outbreak of infectious diseases like COVID-19, we need to establish a global network which will identify pathogens. So International Pathogen Surveillance Network has to be established as a global network. Anywhere in India, any disease across the world is caused only because of pathogens. Yes or no? So the database of all those pathogens has to be maintain any new variant, any new pathogen, any new genome, anything that is witnessed across any part of the world, it has to be brought or integrated into this global network of international pathogen surveillance network. So if any unforeseen, unusual, like whatever description that we have mentioned for any emergency, disease that leads to health emergency of international concern, if that is witnessed, you need to maintain the list of pathogens which are detrimental to human health or the global order or the global health by and large. So if that database is there and that global network is there, you can easily identify what are the symptoms, what are the medicinal alternatives to overcome any kind of disease, any kind of pathogen. For that, this global network is very much important. That has been established by the WHO after the learnings of COVID-19 pandemic. Before that, it is not there. But now, anything which is unusual or abnormal has to be taken into this global network. Some research, some development, some regulatory mechanisms, any sort of alternatives, what are the symptoms, how this can be overcome, what is the medicinal alternatives that are available, for any sort of pathogenous disease. All these can come into picture very early rather than suffering which happens because of this epidemics or pandemics. For that, WHO has established this IPSN, International Pathogen Surveillance Network. Next, under this One Health Priority Research Agenda on AMR, Antimicrobial Resistance. One Health Priority Research Agenda. So this One Health Priority has been an initiative of, One Health Priority is an initiative of WHO, UNEP, FAO, which organization? It is a quadripartite initiative, which means it involves 4 multinational organizations. One is your FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, United Nations Environment Program, World Health Organization, and next one is World Organization for Animal Health. World Organization for Animal Health. These 4 organizations came together to establish One Health Priority Research, which predominantly focuses on AMR, World Organization for Animal Health, which focuses on AMR. What is this AMR? AMR ante enti? Antimicrobial resistance. What is antimicrobial resistance? India is referred as, or India is classified as AMR capital of the world. India is considered as AMR capital of the world. Antimicrobial resistance capital of the world is India. So what is AMR? Antimicrobial resistance. Overusage of antibiotics. Not only antibiotics, overusage of antivirals, antibiotics, antifungals, and anti-parasites. Any kind of diseases, be it virus, be it fungus, be it bacteria, or be it parasite, that evolves within the human body, we use various kinds of medicines. So overuse overuse and overdosage of medicines for very small virus or very small bacteria or anything leads to antimicrobial resistance. Eventually, if you use so much of medicines for very small infections, it leads to AMR, which makes the person, which makes the particular species to dysfunction or not to function for any kind of medication. Overusage of medicines leads to antimicrobial resistance. తలనొప్పి వస్తుంది కదా అని చెప్పి ఎక్కువ క్రోసిన్లు డోలోలు వేసాం అనుకోండి, నిజంగా వచ్చిన రోజు ఆ ట్యాబ్లెట్లు పనిచేయవు. అట్లా తుమ్ములు వస్తున్నాయి కదా అని చెప్పి ఎక్కువ ట్యాబ్లెట్లు వేసారనుకోండి, బాడీలో ఇన్హరెంట్గా కెపాసిటీ తగ్గిపోయి రెసిస్టెన్స్కి అసలు లేకుండా ఆ ఫంగస్, ఆ బ్యాక్టీరియా, ఆ ప్యాథోజన్, ఆ పారాసైట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అది ఇంకా మెడిసిన్స్కి ఫంక్షన్ అవుతుంది. దట్ ఈస్ యాంటీమైక్రోబియల్ రెసిస్టెన్స్. మైక్రో ఆర్గానిజమ్స్కి అగెనెస్ట్గా యువర్ ఓవర్ యూసేజ్ ఆర్ ఓవర్ డోసేజ్ ఆఫ్ మెడిసిన్స్ ఈజ్ లీడింగ్ టు దిస్ పర్టికులర్ AMR. This is a major concern for India. India is regarded as capital of AMR in the world. అంటే అంత ఎక్కువ మెడిసిన్స్ వాడుతున్నారు ఇండియాలో. So there has been certain statistics, like it says that around 7 lakh people die every year because of antimicrobial resistance. 7 lakh people. And as per some estimates, it says that another 10 million people are projected to die in India by the year 2050. And if you compare AMR deaths with other deaths like cancer or road accidents, even if you consider all the deaths of people who die because of cancer and because of road accidents, the deaths caused by AMR is more compared to cancer deaths and accident related deaths. So that is the prevalent of AMR. So in order to address this, and because of this prevalence of antimicrobial resistance, it always has some economic implications as well. By the year 2050, if the same status of deaths because of AMR continues, our global gross domestic product or world GDP is going to shrink by some 2 to 3.5% because of this AMR, as per some statistics. So this is the seriousness which is accorded to this particular issue of AMR. So in order to address this, One Health priority has been an initiative which was taken by all these 4 multinational organizations to address this antimicrobial resistance. So what is this One Health? What do you mean by One Health? As you have seen, various organizations are involved. What is the link between One Health and AMR? One Health means health of whom? Here we are typically concentrating. Health of, in the definition, One Health priority denotes the agenda, the basic agenda of One Health. The concept acknowledges not only the health of humans, but also domestic and wild animals, also includes the health of plants, and also includes the health of environment by and large. So it is combination of plant health, human health, animal health. All this happens interdependently within environment. Within environment, all they are interconnected or inextricably linked and interdependent. So this is a multi-sectoral, multidisciplinary response which was adopted by all these 4 multinational institutions to fight against this antimicrobial infections. So 5 pillars have been identified. 5 pillars have been identified under this One Health priority. What are those 5 pillars? First key pillar is transmission. Second is integrated surveillance. Third is intervention. Fourth is behavioral insights and change. And fifth is economics and policy. Transmission means transmission. In order to ensure one health which is common for all, which is healthy for all, be it plants, animals, humans, as well as environment. So all these core components have to be healthy so that transmission of any sort of pathogens will not be possible and a healthy ecosystem can be established. That is what is meant by transmission. Second is integrated surveillance. Integrated surveillance aims to identify any sort of cross-cutting priorities, any sort of research related abnormalities or technical exchange of information between all these three ecosystems. Third is interventions. When anything abnormal is identified, fourth, the intervention has to be taken care with respect to various programs, policies, tools, activities which ensures prevention or containing or reducing of such incidents, which ensures livelihood and effective healthy benefits for all these. That is intervention. Fourth is behavioral insights and change, which means human behavior development. If behavioral aspects which addresses the human behavior is not considered, then there is no way we can achieve this one health priority. Whatever we have got habituated or accustomed, if we are not in a position to change our behaviors or insights, Ippudu, when the prevalence of AMR is so much in India, if you know that, and after this class if you feel like little fatigue and if you go and take a medicine for that, that is the behavioral change that is expected out of you from those international organizations. So you have to bring in that change in your behavior and attitude as well. Finally, economics and policies, which takes into effectiveness, the cost effectiveness or the investment rates through which we can ensure financial sustainability and which creates long-term impact within the health sector. Economical impact as well as environmental impact. These are the key pillars, key 5 pillars of One Health priority. Next. Global Initiative on Digital Health. Global Initiative on Digital Health. What does it mean? India along with World Health Organization has launched this Global Initiative on Digital Health, which aims to converge efforts and investments in digital health space around the globe. What do you mean by digital health? It is an initiative which was taken up by WHO and India. Global Initiative on Digital Health. What do you mean by digital health in the first place? What is digital health? What do you mean by digital health? Digital health means use of technology to improve health or to ensure healthcare delivery. Use of technology can be, it can be through mobile devices, it can be through software applications, or it can be through any sort of digital tools to ensure or to improve the healthcare delivery system. So how integration of health and technology is taking the intersection between technology and healthcare is what is known as digital health in simple terms. So nowadays if you look at the India, various initiatives have been taken up. Telemedicine, e-Sanjeevani, lot of initiatives with respect to digital health have been taken up by India as well. During COVID also you have this CoWIN. It is example of this. What is this CoWIN? COVID platform. Vaccinations availability, anything can be known through this CoWIN platform. So similarly, you have various digital platforms which addresses this particular digital health aspect as well. So India, in collaboration with WHO, has launched this global initiative on digital health. What is the importance of this digital health? Why is it important? To whom it is important? And how it is important? Number one, it empowers patients. కోవిడ్ ఉంది, ఎవరికో కోవిడ్ వచ్చింది, they need some drugs or injections. Because of this, it empowers citizens. The availability, accessibility and affordability of medicines is very much visible with the use of technology. So it empowers citizens. That's the first thing. Second is treatment of diseases can happen in an hassle-free manner. Before that, before integration of software tools or technology into healthcare system, treatment used to be very cumbersome process, but now it has become very simplified. So there are many other benefits, like when you talk about the targets with respect to medical field or healthcare delivery system, it has its imprints in each and every aspect, right from home to home to tomb antam, from the beginning to till your death. Technology is very much integrated into our lifestyles with respect to health. So these are various. By taking up these digital health initiatives, we can ensure some common agendas like equitable health, some the data management system, or whatever the global targets, global mandate that we have put forth, we can achieve all this. So on the sidelines of this, India has come up with an initiative called as ZIDH, which stands for Global Initiative on Digital Health, which is an initiative of India. Global Initiative on Digital Health. Global Initiative on Digital Health. So by this platform, we make sure that it will ensure or promote equitable access to digital health facilities for all. So the major aim of this global initiative of digital health is to align support and facilitate healthcare outcomes to the people. The main aim of this global initiative on digital health is to align, support and facilitate health. Again, this global initiative digital health also has 4 pillars. In order to undertake this, you have 4 pillars. First one is a tracker. First pillar is tracker. Every country needs a tracker. Second is every country has to maintain its resource portal. Second pillar is resource portal. So both this tracker and resource portal, these two helps in optimal allocation of resources or alignment of countries' priorities within that particular purpose. You are tracking it and you are setting a resource portal Third important pillar is transformation toolbox. And fourth pillar is knowledge and exchange of information. So these are the four pillars under this global initiative on digital health. Under this digital health platform, we have the Government of India initiatives. We have this Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, which seeks to provide integrated digital healthcare infrastructure for all. Next, as I told you, the CoWIN, the Telemanas, health technology assessment, Sanjeevani app, all these are the telemedicine government initiatives with respect to digital health platforms. Next, WHO releases the first ever report on global impact on high BP. This is another important issue which was in news regarding high BP. What do you mean by high BP? Hypertension is known as high BP, high blood pressure. High blood pressure means what is hypertension? High blood pressure means what is the normal 120 by 80 mmHg, milligrams of mercury. When it is anything above this is regarded as hypertension. 140 by 90 mmHg is regarded as hypertension or high blood pressure. So, what does these two indicate? Systole and diastole. What is systole? What is diastole? Contraction. The second one is the resting period within which your blood pumps. That is systole and diastole. This is blood pressure. Why is it a serious issue? Why WHO? Cardiac arrest, okay. It is non-contagious disease, true. So recently, United Nations General Assembly's 78th session has happened. Within this 78th session, World Health Organization has released a report titled Global Report on Hypertension, in which it named this hypertension as the race against silent killer. It is a silent killer, but it takes away a lot of lives every year. The statistics has proved that despite its seriousness, it has been a silent killer in taking a lot of lives across the world. So that is the report which was released by WHO in United Nations General Assembly session, 78th session. So they regarded this hypertension as a global epidemic. When they say global epidemic, they have certain statistics. According to this particular report, they say that 1 in 3 adults across the world, 1 in every 3 adults across the world suffer from this high blood pressure or hypertension. And the number of hypertension cases have also been doubled. It is somewhere around 650 million, which was 650 million in 1990s and 2000s. From 650 million, now it has increased to 1.3 billion in 2020s. So that is the staggering rate at which this hypertension is being witnessed. So that is why it is regarded as a global epidemic by WHO. So almost 33% of adults between the age of 30 to 70 are suffering with this hypertension. And four, approximately 4 out of every 5 people are not adequately treated for this hypertension, because it is the most neglected aspect. Despite that, it is regarded as a global epidemic. That is why their report has titled it as the rise of silent killer. So some basic stuff with respect to hypertension is important for your exam again, because of all these alarming statistics which was put forth by WHO in its report. India is also doing very well with respect to hypertension. Well, in the sense, we are giving so much of competition. We are the prime contributors among that whatever the so-called 1.3 billion we have talked about. India is also contributing 31% in that. So if the same situation is being continued in India, some 4.6 million deaths would happen by the year 2040. So the major issue here is, in this particular report, inadequate treatment has been the major issue. Inadequate treatment. About 80% of the individuals who are suffering because of this hypertension, they do not receive adequate treatment. So there is, even if they receive treatment also, there is disparities between the treatment coverages as well. So urgent and timely treatment of hypertension is the need of the hour. That is what has been emphasized by WHO. So WHO's call to action is to prevention, early detection and effective management of hypertension should be a national priority, which should benefit the national policies as well. It should be part of universal health coverage, is what it has mentioned. Next, moving further. Laos People Democratic Republic achieves lymphatic filariasis elimination in 2023, followed by Bangladesh. Lymphatic filariasis elimination, which is also called as elephantiasis, the swollen legs. It is also called as elephantiasis. So Laos became the second country after Bangladesh to achieve or completely wipe out this lymphatic filariasis. Bangladesh. So now again, lymphatic filariasis or elephantiasis. Some background about that as well. How is it caused? It is a parasitic infection which is caused by infected mosquitoes. This elephantiasis is also known as neglected tropical disease. Mostly neglected tropical diseases means, which diseases are regarded as neglected tropical diseases? The diseases which are very common in low income populations, such as your developing nations like your Africa, Asia. These tropical region countries, low income countries, developing countries predominantly possess all these kinds of common diseases like filariasis and all. So that is why they are known as low neglected tropical diseases. So how is it transmitted? Through mosquitoes. Same, like you often hear few names of mosquitoes. Culex mosquitoes, Aedes mosquitoes, and Anopheles mosquitoes. All these are the common carriers of this lymphatic filariasis or elephantiasis. All these are some factual informations which might not be too much important, but you need to remember that the basic things. It has been treated, again this is important. MDA, it has been wiped away by taking up few initiatives, which is called as MDA, Mass Drug Administration. They have eliminated this only through the practice of MDA, Mass Drug Administration, which is a cost-effective method which was implemented in Laos to wipe out this lymphatic filariasis or elephantiasis. And some technical things like in order to eliminate this lymphatic filariasis, WHO has recommended triple therapy combination of 3 medicines. One is your ivermectin, second is your diethynyl carbamazine, and third is your albendazole. Ivermectin, diethyl carbamazine, and albendazole is the 3 medicines, triple therapy combination, which was recommended by WHO. Next is World Second Local Production Forum to convene in Netherlands. World Local Production Forum. It is the second. So recently, from India, the Union Minister for Chemicals and Fertilizers has participated in the second World Local Production Forum, which was held in Hague, Netherlands. What is this? The aim of this World Local Production Forum? What is the aim? It is an initiative of WHO again. It is an initiative of WHO, World Local Production Forum. The aim of this particular forum is to increase access to medicines and other health technologies. Whatever is an initiative of WHO, it has to be the domain of health. It has to be within the domain of health. So the basic aim is to increase access to medicine and other healthcare technologies. So this is the second forum which was held in Netherlands in the year 2023. First session was held in the year 2021, which was virtually held. This is the first time because at that time, due to COVID, a virtual session has been held. This is the second session which was taken up at Hague, Netherlands to increase accessibility. Host countries, Netherlands. Rest of the things are so much factual in nature. So these are some issues concerning WHO were in news. Similarly, pick up an organization, international organization or any institution, and list out all the initiatives which were in news. So this manner of preparation will help you retain information, recollect things comprehensively. Every organization you will have certain clarities and various initiatives which were happening within that particular organization. If you could connect your static and the current, what is the mandate, what is the functioning and governing council or bodies, who are part and parcel of this institution and organization, how the funding process happens within this, and what are the various initiatives, what are the various reports which was published by this particular organization. So list out all the organizations and do it in this particular fashion, so that it will be helpful even for your mains as well. One organization to go at a time, one go, all things at a time. All right. Next, if you take the organization of SCO, Shanghai. What is this Shanghai? Shanghai. SCO stands for Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Is it? Which organization it is? It is an Eurasian intergovernmental organization. It is political, economic and security organization which is guarding Europe as well as Asia. How many member countries? Shanghai Cooperation Organization. How many member countries are there? Before this Shanghai, the predecessor of this Shanghai Cooperation Organization is this Shanghai 5. Only 5 countries are part of Shanghai before SCO. After, like, all these 5 countries are your China, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia and Tajikistan. These are the 5 countries. With addition of other European and Asian countries, the mandate and the number of countries within the organization has increased, and this has been transformed into SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. If more than 5 countries became part of that particular organization, the name will not justify. So after this, in the year 2001 till 2001, it became SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and its functioning was started in the year 2003. So who are the member countries? The first country which has joined the Shanghai 5 and the name got transformed as Shanghai Cooperation Organization is with inclusion of Uzbekistan in the year 2001. After that, slowly India also joined SCO. India and Pakistan both joined SCO. So what are the member countries? How many countries are there now currently within the Shanghai Cooperation Organization? How many member countries? A total of 9 countries. Why is this in news? Because recently Iran has joined as the 9th member. Before that, 8 countries are part of SCO. All the countries are within Europe and Asia. That is why it is called as Eurasian Intergovernmental Organization, which works under political, economic and security aspects, which takes into consideration all these aspects, which addresses all these aspects, all the interests of these countries. So how do you remember all the countries in any organization? There are various organizations. Shanghai Cooperation Organization has 9 countries. How do you remember all these names? What are the member countries of SAARC? What are the member countries of BIMSTEC? So you have numerous bilateral groupings and multilateral groupings and regional groupings. All these regional organizations and groupings are important again. Within various regions, you have various groupings. All these are important. all the member countries who are part of this particular organization are very important. If you could at least guess one option out of this, you can arrive at right answer in your prelims. So you have to find a way out to remember all these things. The better way to remember any country's members within that particular groupings is through mnemonics. Through mnemonics. Mnemonics means shortcuts. Any kind of shortcuts. You have certain mnemonics where a lot of toppers, many have prepared. You yourself have come up with many mnemonics. If you ask me to remember all this, I'll have my own code in my mind. Okay. Members of Shanghai. I remember that like, I remember them through this truck pick. Truck pick. Shanghai means I have countries, 9 countries. Truck pick. All the countries. Tajikistan, Russia, Uzbekistan, China, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, India, Iran and Kyrgyzstan. All 9 countries. This is how any regional grouping, any organization, you can frame your own mnemonic. Whatever is convenient for you, you can come up with your own innovations. So basically, this Shanghai Cooperation Organization, these are the 9 member countries. The governing council within the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, it also happens like you have some observer countries and some dialogue partners. Any organization has a core members. So all the 9 member countries are part and parcel of this core group. Outside this core group, a periphery, outer periphery is predominantly dominated by observer nations, which means in its discussions, deliberations, in its policy or programming initiatives, these observer nations were invited to take part in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meetings. They'll sit and observe, but they do not have any power to vote or to recommend any sort of policies which are affecting this Eurasian region. As I told you, all the member countries, if you look at all these member countries, they are either part of Europe or they are either part of Asia. That is why it is an Eurasian intergovernmental organization, which is looking into political aspects, economic aspects and security aspects as well. So accordingly, any concern like this Asia, this region is predominantly widespread geopolitical tensions are prevalent in this particular region of SCO. Because when you have countries like Pakistan or you have countries like Afghanistan, despite being an observer, these are countries where a lot of geopolitical tensions happen. You have this Golden Crescent region where a lot of drug trafficking, weapon transfers and all these things happens. So when state-sponsored terrorism, all these things are happening in this particular region. So any policy, any proposal, any program which addresses the common needs of this whole region will be taken care by the member countries. And the other countries will be the observers. So after being part of an observer for certain years, then you elevate yourself to something called as dialogue partner. Another medium periphery will be there within any particular organization. You call it as dialogue partner, which means you can have a dialogue within any organization. Like you want to make a policy with respect to security. Then any country which is part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization as a dialogue partner can also come up with certain viewpoints which can form part of your policies. So there are certain countries who are regarded as dialogue partners for this Shanghai Cooperation Organization. These dialogue partner countries are Armenia, Azerbaijan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Cambodia, all the neighboring countries of these particular countries are your dialogue partners. Azerbaijan, Armenia, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Turkey are your dialogue partners. And your observer nations are the outer periphery. As I told you, Afghanistan, Mongolia, Belarus. Initially, Iran is also an observer. But now it has been elevated to dialogue partner and now became the member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. That is how the governing functioning of the organization happens. So, numerous initiatives addressing all these aspects will be taken care of. This Shanghai Cooperation is also known as Alliance of the East, which is to counterbalance the NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The West, the American predominance is visible there. But in the East, you have this. But in East, you have this Alliance of East, which is SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So, in security aspects, recently you have something called as RATS initiative. RATS stands for Regional Anti-Terrorist System. And this Shanghai Cooperation Organization is also regarded as largest regional organization. It is the largest regional organization in the world. Why it is largest? Because you have Russia, you have China, and you have India. If China and India are together, it will be largest in terms of population, which means that almost 40% of the world's population is predominantly dominated by the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And when you have a country like Russia, which is spread across vast territory in the northern part, so almost 60% of the global geographical area is also dominated by this Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So that is why it is regarded as the largest regional organization globally. So when there is so much of population, so much of geography, obviously there will be some sort of economic activity as well. People are there, resources are there. Some sort of economic activity has to happen. So this region predominantly contributes almost 20% to the global GDP. 60% of landmass, 40% of population, and 20% of GDP is what is contributed by SCO. So that is why it is regarded as the largest regional organizations. Right? These are basic things. The governing structure you have, like this also have a various tiers of governance. The head of the state, the head of the governments, the governing councils, and who presides which meetings and all, depending upon the kind of activity, intergovernmental meeting which is set up, the heads of the meetings presides over this Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Sometimes it is presided over by defense minister. When you are taking any aspects or policies are framed with respect to any security issue, defense minister will be heading this particular organization. Same is the case with all the countries. Head of the government, head of the state will also head these particular meetings. You have the structure of the governing council, how this organization functions. This is all the static part of SCO. Now why is it in news? They came up with something called as Startup Forum 2023. Shanghai Cooperation Organization was in news recently because it has come up with a startup forum. What is this startup forum? Startup collaboration of entrepreneurs across all the countries, so that you can promote innovation, so that you can promote development, particularly creation of common platforms across all the Eurasian regions, which ensures best practices, best ideas, and various startup related decisions can be taken up, which ultimately leads to promotion of a common agenda which enriches the status of all the nations, Eurasian region. That is the whole idea. Spirit of innovation, generating more employment, encouraging young talent, and building innovative solutions has been the major objective of the startup forum. So this is the third startup forum that has happened. Earlier, SCO startup forum was started in the year 2020. Then you had a second startup forum in 21, and then this is the third one, which happened in 2023. It was presided over by, from Indian end, startups comes under particular ministry and department. That ministry has attended this particular Startup India Forum. Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Again, within this SCO only you have SCO Summit 2023. Virtual summit has held. So, this summit, SCO Summit 2023 summit was important for India because India hosted this summit for the first time. It was held virtually, but India hosted it for the first time. And in this summit only, Iran was included as SCO's 9th member, where the presidency was headed by India. And the major outcome of this particular summit is, with respect to economic aspect, all the member countries of Shanghai Cooperation Organization has agreed and also has explored the ways to make their national currencies as payments for trade to happen. So within this grouping, any kind of economic activities, any kind of trade and commerce between these countries, whatever is happening, they have agreed to make their payments in national currencies as their payment methods. Why? Because the use of national currencies will obviously circumvent the influence of dollar-based payment system, which we are predominantly obsessed with. Any multinational institution, all the trade which is happening across the world is through dollar. Dollarization through trade is what is happening. In order to circumvent that and in order to ensure our own economies and our own economic growth, if we tend to do it in our national currencies, it would be beneficial for all the member countries. So they unanimously agreed for it, and they are exploring ways on how to handle this. This is another important outcome. Again, Delhi Declaration has also been one of the outcome of this SCO Summit 2023. New Delhi Declaration has been signed. What is this New Delhi Declaration? Under this New Delhi Declaration, it addresses the security aspect of this regional grouping to counter the activities of terrorist, separatist and extremist groups within this particular Eurasian region. Terrorist, extremist and separatist groups. And also special attention has also been mentioned with respect to any sort of religious intolerance and aggressive nationalism which maintains ethnic and radical discrimination. All these have to be wiped out in all the member countries across this SCO grouping. That is what is New Delhi Declaration, which addresses the security aspect of this particular region. And the member countries, they also came up to develop common principles and approaches to identify the list of terrorists, separatists and extremist organizations functioning actively within this particular grouping. Eurasian region, within Eurasian region you have the major hub for all these kind of extremist activities, terror related activities across the world. All terror related, drug trafficking, human trafficking, arms weaponry exchanges, all these are happening only in the core of this particular region. That is why all the member countries came together to identify common principles and approaches which enlists the list of terrorists, which enlists the list of separatist and extremist organizations which are actively functioning. This is so it is opposing any sort of militarization through the help of communication and information technologies. Any support in the form of technology to the military organizations has to be wiped out or has to be cutted so that security aspects will be addressed. This is what is New Delhi Declaration under this Shanghai Cooperation Organization of 2023. And within the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, as China is also part, there are various issues that come up which are predominantly within the interests of China as well. China is also a dominant player. So India has stayed away from a joint statements which discussed about Chinese Belt and Road Initiative or Chinese opposition, or India has opposed this Belt and Road Initiative and any aspects with respect to POK, Pakistan Occupied Kashmir, because China will obviously bring those discussions in regional groupings to secure the cooperation of other members within that region. But India has stayed away from these joint statements. They did not participate, they did not non-alignment movement, what are foreign policy drives. So India stayed out of it. Only our interests, we interfere. If it is not affecting our interests, it is better to stay out of it. So these are the outcomes of SCO 2023 meeting. Right? So we'll continue with next organizations tomorrow.